Lesson 98. A subject with two verbs. Catherine, because of the way I designed this book, there's a very limited pool of vocabulary, very few words, but that's by design. My goal is not for the reader to come away from this book knowing huge amounts of vocabulary, but my goal is to have the reader come away with a good basic structural knowledge of what's happening in Greek.
Right.
To know how things work together and add up structurally, not necessarily to know a whole dictionary full of words. So to that end, I have a small amount of words that I use to teach lots of structures. And because I have such a small word pool, I thought one thing that might be interesting to do is introduce sentences in which one subject is doing two things. So we'll have a sentence in which the subject has two verbs associated with it.
Yes, and this is relatively common for Greek sentences as well, so it's a useful structure to know.
So let's go through our example sentence together. We can both talk about it. We have the subject, hoi didaskaloi, which means the teachers. And then the teachers are doing two things, as teachers often do, right? Teachers.
Multitasking is an important thing in the educational world.
Well said, well said. Yeah, teachers are often cramped for time, or and they have to do two things at once to keep up with the workload. And so here we have some hardworking teachers in our sentence. They're doing two activities, and so we have two verbs joined with kai. And so what are the teachers doing here?
So here, hoi didaskaloi anagignoskousi kai graphusin. So the teachers are reading anagignoskousi and kai graphusin, writing. And here, this is important for our listeners to notice that kai can join all sorts of things. It can join two nouns, which is what our listeners have seen a lot in this book. So the Alexander is a teacher and a philosopher. Kai, there would be joining two nouns. But it can also join two verbs. Anagignoskousi kai graphusin.
Right. Kai is extremely versatile. It can join words together on any level, at the sentence level, the clause level, it can even start a whole new thought in a whole new paragraph. So it can join a paragraph to the preceding paragraph, or it can just join two small things together, like I like coffee and banana bread, even something as simple as that. So kai can join anything together at any grammatical level. Another quick thing to point out is the movable news here. I've got news for you. That is the letter nu. In anagignoskousi, we do not have the movable nu because the next word starts with a consonant, in this case a kappa. But graphusin, that one does have the movable nu because it comes at the end of a sentence. There's nothing after it. So anagignoskousi and graphusin are both third-person plural verbs, both of which potentially could have a movable nu. But in this sentence, one has it and the other doesn't because of their circumstances.
Right.
So that's a good opportunity to study the usage of the movable nu. Before we go, Catherine, let's take a quick look at a couple of exercises just to help our readers learn. In number 1, we have hoi philosophoi. That's the subject. That means the philosophers. And the philosophers are doing two things. So we have two verbs associated with this one subject. One subject is doing action expressed by two verbs. This is very similar to our example sentence. They're doing the same things. So not too different.
Yes, and one thing to note with these one subject, two verb sentences is that even though there are two verbs, both verbs agree with the subject. Agreement rules still apply even when there's more than one verb involved. So we could not have hoi philosophoi anagignoske kai graphe, because anagignoske and graphe would be singular, and that would not match with philosophoi. You still have to have third-person plural verbs with plural subjects, just like you would if there were just one verb.
Well said. And in fact, both of these verbs are third person plural. So anagignoskusi is third person plural, and graphusin is third person plural. So they agree with philosophoi. And so the sentence as a whole says, the philosophers are reading and writing.
And then in exercise 2, we have ho didaskalos graphe kai anagignoske. And there we have the singular subject ho didaskalos and the singular verbs graphe and anagignoske, both applying to that one subject. So the teacher is writing and reading.
Let's take a quick look at number 3. In number 3, we have two subjects doing the same action being expressed by one verb. So instead of one subject with two verbs, we have two subjects with just one verb. So you have the emporos and the georgos, that is the merchant and the farmer, both doing the same activity. They're both running with trechusin. So number 3 says the merchant and the farmer are running. So they're both doing one activity expressed with just one verb.
And one thing to notice is that even though emporos and georgos are both singular, because they're together, they add up to make a plural subject of trechusin. Because when you add georgos and emporos together, they make a plural subject, even though the nouns are singular by themselves.